So, all right. Right now we've got up choosing on a bobber or a chopper. Sled's built a lot of bobbers and choppers throughout the years. Starting in 2003. Let's see, there's a lot of them up here. It's not even all of them. That's not even close to all of them. But first chopper comes to mind would be the Impaler. Bam. The Impaler's pretty rowdy. That was the first chopper I built. I put a monoshock on that, some holes in the down tube. You know, back then, West Coast choppers, Jesse James was doing his thing, and he was on TV, did the holes in the down tube, so that was like the, just in your head, you know, to want to do. So yeah, that bike built in 2004. Remember the gas tank? I used hot rod hood pins to hold the gas tank on. We used to light that bike on fire a lot and do flaming burnouts. Next on the chopper list, oh, that thing was a blast to ride too. I rode that thing to the smokeout 2 or 3 years. We'd burn the back tire off of it, put a back tire back on it, and then ride it back home. But then 2004, following that, I built Whiskey Bent. That was a Sportster chopper. That bike was really cool, still have it. That's a divorced Sportster. I think that was like a 94 or 93 Sportster. I cut the back of it off and put a 6-speed kick-only transmission behind it. That bike was a blast to ride. So there's a couple choppers. Let's see, maybe the first bobber I built. Well, Jen's bike, I guess you could consider that kind of a bobber. You know, that's a stock bike with a stock tank on it. It's got a 21 front wheel. You know, I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts on a bobber? Does a bobber have to have a fat front wheel or a 21 front wheel? You know, choppers are pretty easy to describe. I feel like bobber gets a little bit fuzzy around the edges, but I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Fat front tire, skinny front tire? Is it just got to be a mashed up bike? It's got to have fat tanks? I don't know. Springer front end. So anyways, Jen's bike, if you could say that's a bobber, that's a stock bike. You wouldn't call it a chopper or anything by any means. There's a long list of choppers. Doug Doyle's bike, that was built in 07. We built that for him when he got home from Afghanistan. That was a soft tail. That's a pretty cool bobber. Right here, one of my favorites though is Spooky. I feel like that's definitely bobber. You can't deny that. Spooky and then the Cherry Bobber. Those are both built like off the same kind of Paco chassis. I love those big fat white walls I used to be able to get. They were called Classics. They just quit making those tires. I wish I'd have bought a truckload of them back in the day. Just big, thick white walls. You can get white walls nowadays, but they're kind of skinny. But those tires just like two big, huge balloons. So we used to flip the handlebars upside down, kind of give them a little bit of a cafe racer. Another bobber would be Pat's bike here, the PBR Special. You know, that's the first hardtail we built. And that was in 2005 or 6. That's the first Evo Sportster hardtail right there. And that pretty much is a bobber, but that's a 21 front wheel. So I don't know. All of those bikes are a blast to ride. Pat rode the crap out of the PBR. Spooky and the Cherry Bobber, you know, with that bigger front wheel, it could be a little bit more interesting to ride, but it's not hard by any means. It's definitely a little bit different though when you got a 16 on the front as opposed to a 21. Especially looking down, you got such more meat rolling in front of you. But they're both easy to ride, I would say. That bobber's got a tighter package, you know, for maneuverability and stuff like that. A chopper, you know, as long as you keep the trail right, I don't like to usually go over like 40 degrees. That seems to be like a nice rake to kind of use whatever front end you want. You know, by the time you use a Springer, you push the front axle out a little bit more, so you're trail changes some, or if you use a hydraulic front end, your axle's a little more in line with the stem. So all of that changes your trail. But around 40 degrees, I've found you can always make a pretty nice handling motorcycle just sticking around that. Going up doesn't really affect things much. It's gonna make your front end longer, but keeping them short or going up, still very functional motorcycle. So I guess we'll wait and see what you guys come up with next week, and we'll go from there.